What's up, everybody? Ooh, that mic is hot. Let's make it less hot. How's that? Anyways, how's everybody doing? Still looking a little hot? I'm looking at my levels as I'm talking. All right, so we should be okay now. I guess I could just move it away from my mouth a little more. Anyways, how's everybody doing? We are going to pull the giveaway for May's printer winner on this stream today. Didn't get a chance to. Been doing a lot of house stuff, so haven't been around on the streaming much on the weekend. If you guys notice, there's a CR10 V2 sitting here. It's because we are shooting the new Easy ABL Pro installation video. We got about 90% of it shot today, and then we're going to go and start editing it. So if those of you wondering about a updated installation video, it should be out this week. So yeah, and the music they were queuing up to, I use music from Zero to Z. It's a buddy of mine, and that was their latest release called Cosmos, and that was actually the first time I saw it. I saw it on Spotify. I was like, I'm going to put that on. I really liked it. So anyways, a couple of updates. What updates do we have? We got the Easy ABL video. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, the printer we're giving. We do have something special for this month's giveaway. I was able to get my hands on somewhat of a relic and a piece of 3D printing history that is brand new in the box. They were right around, I believe they were around $1,000 when they were new, but I was able to secure one from a buddy of mine, and I'll show you guys what we're giving away. This is brand new, still sealed, and this is a printer bot simple. This is one of their machines that came out back in 2016. This is brand new, never been used. So this is what we'll be giving away for May's drawing. So let's see who's going to be the winner of one of these machines. If you guys were around for a while, you guys should remember PrinterBot. They kind of came and went, but this is brand new. Joe from Project R3D actually had a bunch of them, and he sold one to me. I was like, this would be a really cool giveaway because it's kind of a piece of 3D printing history. So let's what is it, the Wheel of Names? Is that usually what I use? Wheel of Names. And I have the spreadsheet here. There we go. We got 665 entries. So let's see. I thought it was cool. It's like, oh, we don't want to give away another ender. Let's do something cool. And Joe's like, I got some of these printer bots. I was like, that would actually be really freaking cool. So something different, something unique. So let me put everybody's names in. I'm copying the names right now. The form that we use, it exports it into a spreadsheet. So I'm just copying the spreadsheet here. Go ahead and paste it in. It's thinking. When you paste a ton of names into this Wheel of Names thing, it doesn't like that. It's just hanging right now. So give me a sec. It's thinking. I don't know if it's the browser that's hanging or their software. So but let's see here. Wheel of Names, it's thinking. It's thinking. Here, I'll share my monitor so you guys can see. It's still thinking. It just went white. From what Joe tells me, this had like their Cloud Connect software, and you have to do like an update on it to get it to run standalone. Apparently, there's a lot of people that still use these machines and mod them. I'm going to try. Apparently, Wheel of Names is just crap in the bed here. Let me try this again. Yeah. Okay, I just pasted the names in. Let's see if it'll go. You can see it's thinking. All right, so all the names are in. These are everybody that entered the giveaway last month, and we're going to find out who won. So you guys ready? Let's go. Let's see who won the giveaway for this month. Or last month, I should say. Kurt Shaw. I don't know if Kurt Shaw is watching, but Kurt Shaw, you are the proud winner of a printer bot simple. And I think it's the Pro one, Printer Bot Simple Pro, I think is what Joe told me. But it's a pretty cool machine. I'll look it up here. PRINTR, but it's like this weird cantilever design. Printer Bot Simple. I don't know if this is it. Do they still sell it? I think it's similar to this. This is the Simple. It says 2016 Printer Bot Simple. But yeah, it's like this cantilever design. It's really interesting. So yeah, this is what you're getting. This is kind of a piece of history. I don't know if someone will actually use it, but this is a, is it the Pro? I want to say it was the Pro because Joe told me it's, yeah, this is what it is. It's actually this one, the touchscreen one. So that's what's in the box, and it's brand new, and I hope you enjoy it. So Kurt Shaw is the proud owner of a new Printer Bot Simple Pro. Yeah, it's got to be it. This is the 2016. That's what it says on the side here. I'm not going to open it because I want to give somebody else that joy of opening this. So we'll reach out to you, Kurt, and we will send it out. So there we go. Off to a great start. Sorry it took us a week to pull the name. And those actually, I was looking here, they were $6.99 when they came out back in 2016. So, yeah. So I don't know if Kurt's here, but Kurt Shaw is the one who won it. I'm just going to write a note here so I don't forget. Kurt Shaw. That name sounds familiar. But there we go. Put a little post-it on there, and I'll reach out to him. Oh, there you are. There you are. Kurt is in here. I will love it for history as. Yes, it's a cool machine. I have no use. I have so many different printers. But when Joe was like, I have a printer, I guess he got a really good deal on them when they were being clearanced out by Amazon. And he was like, do you want one? Because I've got like 3 of them still in the box. I was like, that'd be perfect. I want to give away stuff that's new. So let's jump into the... let's jump right into the questions. Yeah, you YouTube member guys, I will get back to you guys later about, I posted some stuff in the private channel, but I'll get back to you guys later tonight. So, anyways, let's see. Justin's here, Vic is, our Mills, our Flet. Did something bad happen again? No. Does the Ender 3 V2 come with a 427 board? No, the Ender 3 V2 came with a 422 board. Not the 427, unless Creality is changing it up. And you can use a 427 in an Ender 3 V2. Hi, Remo. Are you damp because it's raining outside? Hi. You gonna be a good boy? Be a good boy. Yeah. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, no, the Ender 3 V2, those come with the 422 boards. As far as I know, they could have changed it, but the 427 can work in a Ender 3 V2. That's just not what they originally came with. They came with a 422 with 2208s. So, and the 427 is basically 2208s. It's their 2225s. And those are just basically 2208s in a larger package size. So, let's see here. Let's see if there's any other questions. You guys got to ask questions how these streams work. It's called Ask Tim, not watch him ramble on because nobody's asking him questions. But it does sometimes turn into that. Jonathan Barnes says he's got a problem with his Ender 5 Plus thermistor. The temp sensor had a wire snip on it, and I cannot get the sensor out of it. Think of drilling it out. If the little glass bulb, yeah, I mean, if it's stuck and the wire's pulled off, I would probably try taking like a pick, like a carburetor pick type of thing, and try to get it out, like try to break up the glass, because once you pop it, it should come out. But I guess worst case scenario, if you can't get it out, I would go with a drill bit that's slightly smaller than the hole to just pulverize that thermistor out of there. I haven't had one of those get stuck in there. The glass bulbs, I've never had a glass bulb thermistor get stuck. So I'm just looking here. I guess I missed part of the chat. You guys must have been chatting for a little bit before I jumped in. I'm reloading the chat, and there's even less visible now. Yay, YouTube. Anyways, How's it feel not having to worry about glasses or contacts? Justin's asking. I have glasses. Anyways, let's see. We need questions. I'm scrolling through. Okay, Beatles says, I've got an Ender 2. I recently swapped the mainboard from stock. What amps should I use to drive my steppers if I'm using stock motors? You're using a 1.2 Big Tree Tech. I'm assuming that's SKR E3 1.2. I would say like 600 on the X and Y, 800 on the Z, and probably 900 on the E. You should be good there for in terms of the current. That would be fine. The Ender 3 V2 doesn't need a ton of power. So let's see. Yeah, Jonathan Bear, that wasn't 600. Yeah, that printer was $699 when it was new. So I'm glad Kurt says he will appreciate it. That'd be a cool machine. Yeah, it's cool and funky. Let's see. How big is the build volume on that one? I have no idea what the build volume is. Joe goes, I got a cool printer that no one can buy anymore, and I'll sell it to you for a good price. Let's see here. iZap Things is having problems with first layer sticking to his EasyFlex 2. Gap is correct as well as flow and temp. Slow your first layer speed down. In general, if you're having trouble getting stuff to stick, you can do a couple of things. You can up your bed temp. Like, for example, PLA, 60C, PETG, 80C, ABS, 100C. If you're printing ABS and you don't have an enclosure, that could be the entire issue right there, because ABS does need an enclosure. But up in your bed temperature, printing slower, like a 25% first layer speed, and then making sure you get some squish on there. You don't want to have like a rounded bead of filament. It should be flat, so the nozzle is actually pressing it into there, and then run a little bit slower, and everything should just kind of stick down there to it. So, Superconductor's asking about sensorless homing. I'm not a big fan of sensorless homing because it's not as accurate as an end stop, and I don't like the idea of ramming my printer axes into the frame, because that's basically what you're doing. You're ramming. Sensorless homing is homing without end stops. Trinamic 2209s support that, as well as the 2130s. You have to calibrate it, so if your machine wears in and breaks in, or stuff starts getting a little bit tougher to move, it can throw the sensitivity off where it false triggers. Our Prusa was doing that until we cleaned all the rods. But basically, sensorless homing is so you can home the printer without having end stop switches. I'm not a fan of it because it's only, I can't remember the exact accuracy in terms of millimeters, but it's based on the step angle of the motor. I just really don't like it because it's much more finicky than just a switch. A switch is simple and it works, and switches are very accurate. So, but some people like them. Let's see here. Kyle Fick was asking about the new Pi Power boards. Jerry has one and he's working on the design. He should have that done this week. Spot On says, how does EasyABL Pro hook up and replace the BL Touch on the Ender 5 Plus? It's pretty simple. I actually left my BL Touch wiring in the loom because I didn't feel like pulling it out. So you just disconnect the BL Touch. You then run the sensor onto the hot end, run the cable back. The control board gets power from the printer power supply. And then you can use the 2-pin Z end stop cable that's on the BL Touch. You can peel it away and snip it, and then you run the 2 bare wire ends into the EasyABL control board. Or we actually have a pre-made cable that's like a couple bucks in the shop that you can go from the control board to the EasyABL control board, like a printer control board. Let me find that real quick. So, because some people don't want to cut up their stock BL Touch wiring harness, so we do have. It's $4. It's in the shop, and it's literally just a plug and play. So this cable will go between the EasyABL control box and your printer's board if you don't want to cut the Z end stop cable that was being used for the BL Touch. If you just want to snip the little 2-pin cable, so on that printer it has a 3-pin cable and a 2-pin cable coming from the BL Touch. You just peel back the 2-pin cable, so you got the little 2-pin JST, and it's got 2 wires. You snip that, strip them, and you put them in the EasyABL control box connection. There's a 2-pin screw terminal where you can put 2 bare wires in for your ZN stop, or if you don't want to cut anything up, there's that simple cable that just goes between the control board and the EasyABL control board. So, but other than that, it's a pretty standard installation. I'm looking through here for any other questions. Justin Dybell's asking, what should the VRF be on a Y-axis for the CR10S? Well, it really depends on what board. If you have a board that can set the current, I'll usually run 800 on the Y-axis for a CR10S, so 0.08 or 0.8 amps. On the, I have to look it up. Hang on. Because the Trinamic ones are different for the VREF. So if you have a Trinamic board that has an adjustable pot, the Y-axis is going to be 1 to 1.0 volts. On a 4988, you're probably going to want to run like 0.8 to 0.9 volts. So, but the Trinamic seem to have a higher voltage on their VREF set than the 4988s. So, TJ Dorman says, on his Ender 5, he installed a micro Swiss direct drive and hotted. Now my PLA prints don't come out looking good. The nozzle keeps blobbing. Any advice to fix? That would be a good one for you to post pictures of in the TS3D Discord, in the live streams channel, so we can actually see what's going on there. That would be great. So I see someone else posted a question. If you guys are going to ask questions, please ask them in the YouTube chat. And if you have supplemental pictures or links, then post them in Discord. That'd be great. So I can stay on topic here. Or in order, I should say. But yeah, I don't see any... Can't really help you. I don't know what you mean by blobbing. Because some people, what I would call blobbing, I really don't call anything blobbing. It could mean a multiple other things to different people. So it's best to just post a picture so I can see what your first layer, or not your first layer, but your print looks like and what you're referring to as blobbing. So, Kevin Cogan, how do you change the no-go zone in Cura to prevent the nozzle from hitting the clips? Don't put any parts in the area where the clips are. So, I don't know if Cura has a no-go zone. Maybe someone else who uses Cura can chime in. I don't have, I don't use Cura, so I don't know if there's a way you can be like, don't go at X whatever, Y whatever. So, let's see here. Let's see here. Mike V says, I got a BTT dual gear extruder that is buzzing when printing easy light board Marlin 227 50mm second speed. Does that sound like a bad extruder motor? Could be something loose. It could be vibrating. That would be good. Now here's the thing, on our easy boards, we set the E motor in stealth or spread cycle, not stealth chop, so it will make a little more noise than your other motors, and we do that so you have adequate torque, because running an extruder motor in spread cycle or stealth chop instead of spread cycle can lead to lost steps. So we try to keep our firmware in the recommended setting mode. So it is going to make extra noise. So usually it's kind of like a higher pitch noise that you hear coming from the extruder motor when it's extruding. Especially on a CR10, I've noticed that the Trinamic drivers like to make more motor noise on the 12 volt printers versus the 24 volts. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's that they make more noise. It's the frequency, the audible frequency range that they're driving, or that the motors are emitting the sound in. And it seems like the 24 volt puts the frequency in a higher range, which is usually outside of our audible hearing. Whereas the 12 volt, it's a little bit lower of a frequency. So you can, you're going to hear it more. So, Old Curmudgeon is asking, what thermistors is Dragon Hot and use? Do I sell them? I'm not sure, and I don't sell them. Those hot ends, if I'm correct, those are the ones that they had to stop selling because they copied Slice Engineering's patent pending heat break design or something like that. I remember there was a bunch of snafu with them and Slice. So one of the reasons I haven't looked at selling them, I did have Fadus reach out to us and ask if we would be interested in selling them, but I was concerned about the whole patent issue, because Slice Engineering does have that, and they copied the design from Slice Engineering to a point with the little tubes that hold the heat block to the actual heatsink. So, any experience with a bird air pump cooling? I've seen people using it, but I have not used it myself. I'm just looking for more questions here. Vic is asking, what is the recommended mainboard cooling on Ender 3 V2? I'm losing bed moments and menu function. I don't know what you mean. I have TH3D fan 427 board and RFI chip. I'm not sure what you mean. Hang on one. That was weird. There was a random call coming into my line. But anyways. Yeah, try rewording that question, Vic, as I'm not sure what you mean. So, but you should have cooling on the 427 boards, especially the stock 422s. Those 422s have been reported to overheat quite frequently. But the 427, that's going to need active cooling as well. So, but I'm trying to... Someone's posting pictures in the live stream. I don't know if that's... what was his name? Who was saying he was getting blobbing with his direct drive? TJ. TJ Dorman. TJ, are you Viper something on Discord? If so, I'll take it up. I'll bring the picture up here. So, let me see here. I zap things. What can I adjust my Ender 3 V2 to keep the Y motor back from getting so hot? It runs around 60 to 65 C all the time. 60 to 65 C is not bad for a stepper motor. It's warm, don't get me wrong, but it's not bad. The problem is if you lower the current going to the motor, and you can do that by adjusting the little potentiometer next to the Y driver on that board, you could potentially lose steps. So I've noticed in general that when you run trinamic drivers on a printer, you do have to run a little bit higher current than you would on other drivers just because the torque is lower. That's how it gets things quieter. There is a trade-off. You know, the trinamic drivers are quieter, but you have to run a higher amperage on there to combat the lower torque, and that translates to higher heat. So let's see here. Marcus Lowe, I have an Ender 3 Max. I switch out the board on sale. I only have one fan slot for the part cooling. Ender Max has two. Is there a way to split using one port? Yep, just take one of the ends. So you have the 2-pin end. Cut one of them off. Leave about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches. And then cut the other end off and just splice them in. Twist the wires together, solder them up, and tape or heat shrink them. You can just hook 2 fans up to one port. Just kind of make your own little Y adapter. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So, Jesse Sparks is asking about Clipper. I don't do anything with Clipper. I don't have the time to mess with another firmware system. So, and Marlin does everything I needed to do, so I've had no real reason to look into Clipper. So, but if you go on to talk about Clipper, I know there's a bunch of guys on our Discord server, which you can join over at discord.th3dstudio.com, and they're always chatting about Clipper in there. So I just don't have much time to play with that stuff. I'm more of like using the printers as a tool, and Clipper's very much a tinkerer's type thing. So let's see. Jeff Swartz, what is the default environment for an SKR E3 Mini V2? It should be the 256K one. You should not use the 512K one, but asking what is the default environment for a SKR E3 Mini V2, the actual answer is it varies, because what I have in our firmware could be different from what some other random guy has in their firmware, and Big Tree Tech has had the 512K as a default, and they switched back to the 256K, and it's just all over the place. You should be running a 256K environment for the SKR E3 Mini V2, not the 512K one, because you could risk the board hard locking and causing a potential issue where the heaters get locked on. So, Viper's asking, he's got a Sierra 10 S5. He posted pictures of his Benchy, and that looks like he's got a Sierra 10 S5. That looks like what I would expect the ringing to be on a Sierra 10 S5. Not a bad print, though. I'll show everybody here. That's a big machine. You're going to get some ringing. This is not bad at all. This looks like it's a little bit scaled up of a benchy, maybe a 250%, but that's not bad. You're going to get ringing on that printer. That's a 500 by 500. It's just gonna have ringing. So it's just how it is. But let's see here. People are talking about Ma. I love me some Ma. The people in our shop like it too. I've been putting bottles of it out there. Increases productivity. But in terms of, Kyle, your jerk settings on a CR10 S5, I usually run classic jerk on those, which our firmware runs classic jerk, and it's usually 5 for X and Y. That's usually what we run for the CR10 S5 and the S4, and those are also the default settings for our firmware. So the only thing to be aware of is slicers like Cura. I don't know if they changed this, but a while ago they used to modify the jerk for a printer by sending G-code commands to it, because you can also change your jerk by sending G-code commands. And what would happen is they would set the G-code, or they would set the jerk via G-code super high on printers to the point where it was losing steps on the Y-axis specifically. So, yeah, I would run a 5 setting for jerk on X and Y for a CR10 S5. So, but that looks about what I expect. I've built quite a few CR10 S5s, and you always are going to get some ringing on them just because that bed is so big, especially if you're using the glass on there. It's quite the monster in terms of how big that bed is. It's a 508 by 508 bed with a aluminum subframe and the heater and all that stuff. It's a lot of weight to move around. So, Jared Ackerman's got a modded up X1, and he's having issues with the nozzle colliding with the bed in one area during the first layer. Any ideas? I would say check because he's got the Easy ABL. He said in one area, do you mean on one side of the bed, like left or right? Because usually if you have where the left side is higher than the right or vice versa, it's kind of like a slant instead of just flat. It usually indicates that your X gantry is out of whack, meaning it's not the same height on either side. It could be like this, and you would need to go and level it back out. And I believe the X1, it's been a while since I've used ours, but I believe that has a belt at the top linking the two Z rods. I'm pretty sure it does, so that one would be really easy to straighten out in terms of making sure that the distance between the bottom of the X gantry is the same distance to the frame on either side. So basically the bottom of the X gantry to the frame, the distance should be the same on the left and right side. And since that machine has that belt linking at the top, what you'd want to do is loosen up the little grub screws on the pulleys on one of the pulleys, not both of them, on one of them, so you can adjust the lead screws independently. Then once you get it leveled out, tighten them back down, and that should lock it in. So Isaac things asking, should I turn up the amps on the Z-axis if I upgrade to a dual Z setup on an Ender 3 V2? If you upgraded to the mechanical one, you usually don't have to, but if you upgraded to one that has 2 physical motors, you should increase the VREF. You want to be putting about 1 amp out for dual Z motors, but if you're just doing the mechanical one like what we sell, I found that I do not need to turn up the amperage with the mechanical one. But if you're doing 2 physical motors, you're going to have to up the amperage going to those, because they're going to split them in half unless you specifically wire them in series. So I'm just seeing here what other questions are. Jonathan Bear says, I installed Easy ABL into Ender 6. Works well. Had to put the control box inside the compartment because the cable was a bit too short, to allow the head to get to the far end and travel. That's interesting, because I have mine mounted down there, and I can address the whole bed. I'm wondering if maybe your wire loom was a little bit longer than mine, so it took up more slack in the cable. But I have mine mounted underneath inside the printer. It really doesn't matter where you mount it, as long as it's there and not flapping about. Can't talk apparently. So Let's see. Any other questions in here? Have I... Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. But I found my spot. Here we go. Have you checked out option of top enclosure for Ender 6? Still trying to find a solution. Joe and I have been talking about doing it. I want one myself. I haven't found... Let's see. Ender 6 top... Let's see if there's any other hits when I search for it. I have seen people making them, like DIYing it. I'm more trying to find something that's going to be like more of a professional solution. It looks like Creality might have one. It looks like they do. The only thing is this gonna work well? Because this pushes down on the top here. Maybe I should order this and see. This seems pretty expensive. 129 bucks for this. I feel like we could do something nicer at that same price or less. I'll have to ask Joe, because I feel like that's quite expensive for this. We were talking about doing something with acrylic, but a little bit nicer than this. And this seems quite expensive. I guess it does match, but you got to like push the cable down. I think that'd be okay. I'll send this to Joe and see what he thinks. I kind of want to buy one just to see if it actually shows up. So let me send Joe that link so I don't forget. Where's Joe? Joe. Where's Joe on my teams? Here it is. Let's send him that. There we go. Anyways, let's keep going on for the questions here. I'm just looking here. Here's a good question. Guitar Man 22 and Guitar Man, thanks for joining. You must have recently joined because I don't remember seeing you popping up in the little green there. So thank you for that. But you do have a good question here. Why not run junction deviation? And what problems do you see when running S-curve acceleration with ABL? You specified easy ABL, but it affects any ABL probe. I've noticed, especially when using junction deviation in combination with S-curve acceleration, you get these really weird jerky motions, especially if you're doing a long travel. Junction deviation, I don't like that you can't tune each individual axis, and I feel like I got worse print results with junction deviation than traditional jerk. And after talking with Scott at Marlin, he prefers a classic jerk as well, so that's what I stick with on our firmware. But S-curve acceleration is very much experimental, and it just behaves weirdly sometimes, especially if you're, cranking the speeds up. It's like it runs great, and all of a sudden you get these weird motions where it's like, ooh, like it's not a smooth transition of moving. It's like it's going to do it, and instead of just smoothly decelerating, it's like it goes like this, and then like kind of like that, and it just produces really weird print results. So I haven't had good luck with either of those features with junction deviation or S-curve, so I leave them off on our firmware just because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, junction deviation, or not just junction deviation, S-curve acceleration is a cool idea. It's a more aggressive and different algorithm for the acceleration and deceleration of the motors. But in practice, it just doesn't seem to be as reliable as your traditional acceleration algorithm that Marlin's been using for years. So Dominic Versetto is asking, is there a rule of thumb when to use arc welder and when not to use it? I've actually been using arc welder a lot since I've been updating all of our printers to our new firmware builds that have arc support. And our new EasyPi image has arc welder built into it. I only will actually tell it to, weld or arc weld files that have a lot of, curves and circles on them. If it's like a box, I usually don't run it through the arc welder processing. I haven't had any issues with arc welder, even though it's technically experimental. But yeah, I just basically, if I have a model that's got a lot of, curves and circles, I'll usually run arc welder on there. So Armels is asking about a sync kit, a Z-Sync kit for the Sierra S5. If you guys want to sync, if you have a printer with dual lead screws and you want to sync it up, you just got to find out what length of belt you need for a closed loop belt to run around the top. You get 2 pulleys, one for the top of each lead screw. Your lead screws are usually 8 millimeters in size, so you can get an 8 millimeter GT2 or 2GT. They're referred to as both online. Belt pulleys, and then you find out the length of the belt you need. So usually what I'll do when I'm sizing up to find out what size closed loop belt I need is I'll put the pulleys in place, I'll take a piece of string, run it around the pulleys, and then measure, cut it where the 2 ends meet, and then I'll measure the length of that piece of string, and then I'll go and get closed loop belts ordered in that specific length, and that'll usually be good. If you want to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, you can pad it by 2 or 3 millimeters, but that'll be good. Christopher is asking, what kit can I get to make my Ender 6 direct drive? I'm not sure about that. I haven't looked at any aftermarket setups for the Ender 6 for direct drive, but in general, an aftermarket cooling system for the Ender 6 is on my list of things to do. Joe and I are working on some cooling systems that we're prototyping right now. Hopefully those should be ready in a couple months here. We're just doing a lot of testing and stuff here. So we got some cool stuff planned with those. And that's all I'm alluding to at this point till we have something ready to show off. But I got some cool stuff planned. TJ said he put some of his blob pictures in the Discord. Let's see, TJ, let's pull your photos over here. Those are definitely, I would say those are blobs. Let's see here. I'm seeing couple of issues here. I see layer shifting right here. If you look right here, you got some layer shifting going on. It almost looks like these are pauses where the head's just, just blobbing onto there. Are you sure your printer's not also leaking filament? Because there's a lot here, and they're not consistent. This almost looks like when I had an issue where I was getting filament leaking from the gap between the nozzle and the heat break because it wasn't seated correctly. This almost looks like leakage dropping onto the print, and like I said, it looks like you got some layer shifting going on here as well, and that could be caused because if you look at it, it's kind of lining up with where the blobs are. That could be it hitting the blob and making it lose steps. So I would check and make sure that everything is all tightened up, and I would probably check your block to see if you're leaking any filament, because this almost looks like a leak. It could even be a G-code issue where maybe you have a corrupt SD card and the nozzle's just pushing out way too much filament because it's not reading the code correctly. I've also seen that happen. But this almost looks like a leakage, like dropping down from the top of the block onto the printer. Because usually if it's like a G-code issue, you'll see like a bulge. It's not like this rough kind of like looks like it's been cooking on the nozzle heater block for a little while kind of look, which is what I'm seeing on here. So yeah, I would start there. Let's see here. I'm scrolling and saying, okay, there we go. Steve Poole, what's the best board for a Tronxy with dual Z drivers? Whatever you want, man. My go-to for a budget-oriented 32-bit board is the one we sell, which is the MKS S Gen L V2, and we have those in stock. We also have firmware that's really easy to set up that we built for that. And that printer has dual Z support. It has dual Z headers, and you can pick yourself up 5 drivers and a board for just under $62 on our shop. I know quite a few of the guys here run the MKSs. They've been running them for well before we started carrying them. So I started carrying them about, how long has it been? 2 months now, I want to say. So, but those are my go-to board for if you just want something cheap to throw on your printer. That's a fairly reliable board for the price. Those are my go-to, is the MKS S Gen L. That's why we carry them. So Gary Rivet says, my beard is magnificent. It's very red. Did you guys notice it? It's actually this red in person. I have quite the ginger beard going on. So, but yeah, which is weird because my hair is not gingery. So, oh, there's Scott. There's Scott chiming in about S-curve. Could be better for sure, but just lower your speed / accelerations. Yeah, instead of using S-curve. Update on the NeoPixel strips. We don't have an official launch date. We have them, but I am waiting on the plug-on adapter boards for our boards. So we have, people can actually use them with our boards, and I also have about 10 pages of documentation to finish writing, so we can be like, here's how you connect it to like an SKR, an MKS, a Creality board, that kind of stuff. For you guys that are a little more well-versed, you're basically just going to need a 5-volt input for the power and then an I/O pin, and then you tell the firmware what I/O pin you connected them on. So, but we will have, for our easy board, we'll have a little adapter that plugs onto the serial header here. You'll give it 24 or 12 to 24 volts power. You can come right off of the always-on fan header here. And plug it in, and then you literally just plug the strip into that adapter board and tell the firmware that I have the Easy Neos, and then they'll come on. So, but I've got like 6 boxes of these things, like big boxes. We have 1,000 of them. We just want to get all the documentation. I don't want to start selling a product without documentation. We're not Big Tree Tech. That's not how we roll. If I have to hold off on selling a product because we're getting the documentation done, then that's what we do instead of selling a product that nobody knows how to use, because we didn't provide any documentation. So, but anyways, let's see what other questions there are. And I'm going to cut this. I am going to cut this off. You guys don't see me asking too many questions today, and I want to get this video done getting shot today while I still have help here. So I will wrap this up a little bit early today. And then we'll be back on Wednesday. I just got a lot of catching up to do here, and I only have so much time with people that can help me out with doing videos and stuff, especially on Mondays. So let's see here. Guitarman's asking, do you see any problems with emergency parser or host action commands? I've been using that with Octopi, and it fixes several problems. Emergency parser or host action commands. Those sound like plugins, and I would have to look them up. Let's see. Emergency parser. Well, there's emergency parser in Marlin. I know that, but isn't there like a plugin for that like does stuff? Or I'm thinking the emergency stop, like the simple emergency stop. Is that what you're referring to? Host action commands, though. That sounds like that might be a plugin. Host action commands. Am I... Just reading this. Host action commands. Those are custom. Aren't those custom? Those are custom commands for Octoprint itself. I don't know what your question means, to be completely honest with you. Argan is asking, Sierra 10 V2 or Soval SV03? I'd go with the SV03, to be completely honest. The Sierra 10 V2, which is what I have sitting here, is actually not a bad machine. I do really like it. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go with the SV03. If I was in the market for either one, I'd probably go with the SV03. Dean Hintz is saying he's upgrading his X1 to the Easy LCD and the Easy ABL. Should I do the LCD process, then install the ABL, or do them at the same time? If you've already done the Easy ABL install on another printer, I'd say go ahead and do them both at the same time. If not, I would do the LCD and then the ABL. Do them one at a time. But if you've already installed an Easy ABL on another machine, which I feel like you have, I would say just go for it. Just do it. Just watch the specific watch the X1 specific installation video for the Easy ABL, because the wire routing on that one is different from every other machine because of how they have the ribbon cables done. So just go on our site. There is a specific X1 Easy ABL kit, and the video is on that page. Christopher is asking if the Ender 6 works better with Cura or Prusa Slicer. It won't work better with either slicer. That really comes down to how you set up your profile. Those are both good slicers. It just comes down to how you set the profile up in each of those. Summer Conductor is asking about supporting Clipper on your Easy Board and EasyABL. I'd buy it in a heartbeat from Ender 6. I do not have plans on supporting Clipper because I do not want to be doing tech support for Clipper because Clipper is very complicated. There are people in our Discord server that have Clipper running on the Easy Board, and I think they were making a pull request for the official Clipper repository. Like, they put together the configuration file, like took the Marlin pins file and converted it into a Clipper pins file, and we're testing stuff. But we have no plans to support Clipper on the Easy Board or EasyABL. Not saying it can't be used with that, but we're not going to officially provide support for it. Marlin is enough to support on that versus trying to cover all these other firmware. So, but anyways, yeah, no, I know R Mills. You're the one. You're running Clipper on the Easy Board. Yeah, it's got the Easy Board has an LPC 1769, which they run on other LPC boards. So it's just a matter of putting together the pins and telling it where everything's located and flashing it. So, but I have no plans on supporting Clipper with any of our stuff, just because it's not a widely used firmware and it's not something we want to actually provide support for, just because it's much more complicated than Marlin is, because you have to have Clipper on your printer control board and you have to have a Raspberry Pi. So whereas Marlin runs on just your printer control board, you don't have to have a Raspberry Pi to use it. It's a lot less complicated. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. We're almost on the hour mark anyways, but let's see if we can figure out... Oh, I was going to say, where's my dog? He's right behind me. He's looking. Do you want a treat? Do you want a treat? Yes, you do. Oh, you gotta come here so they can see you. Come here, this way. Come here. Sit. Shake. Good boy. Can we touch? Touch. Touch. You have to touch my hand. Come on, touch. Good boy. There we go. All right. Successful stream. I will see you guys later. I got to get back to work on getting this done, and almost made it through my MAW this stream. So anyways, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys on the next one, which is at 2 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. I will talk to you guys later. And as always, happy printing.